Thank you for the invitation to speak and to discuss the incoming union administration and the future of the ROK-U.S. alliance. The bottom line is, I believe that President-elect Yoon will have a positive impact on the ROK-U.S. alliance and on the security of the Republic of Korea. However, we must be aware of the propaganda and rhetoric that will likely emerge from both North Korea as well as political opposition that will argue that he may be too close to and too aligned with the U.S. But we must keep in mind that the national security interests of both the Republic of Korea and the United States benefit from the alliance, and it is in the interests of both nations to ensure we have a strong alliance. Now, unlike my good friend, Ambassador An, I would like to make 5 short points rather than discuss 3 dimensions. First, President-elect Yoon has laid out his vision for national security in his February Foreign Affairs article and in his Washington Post interview last week. In short, his vision is that it is time for South Korea to step up in the ROK-U.S. alliance, in the region, and around the world, because the Republic of Korea is an important player on the global stage. I believe we will see a defense of democratic values, the rules-based international order, cooperation with other like-minded countries, and alignment with entities such as the Quad. We should keep in mind that Korea is the only country in the world to go from a major aid recipient following the Korean War armistice to a major donor nation after the Miracle on the Han. And this stands as an example for the developing nations around the world. And in that, I expect to see strong solidarity with Ukraine as it experiences similar attacks as Korea did in 1950. Second, what we are going to see, I believe we're going to see between the ROK and the U.S. is sufficient alignment about the assumptions about the nature, objectives, and strategy of the Kim family regime. I believe the president-elect has a realistic understanding of North Korea and its goals, and these are more in sync with the U.S. than the previous administration. The alliance will focus on the security of the Republic of Korea through readiness and deterrence. The president-elect will remind Korea, the region, and the world that the alliance exists to defend South Korea and the U.S. in the Asia-Pacific region in accordance with our mutual defense treaty. And in his recent interview, he called North Korea the main enemy. This recognizes that Kim Jong-un seeks to dominate the Korean peninsula under the rule of the guerrilla dynasty and Gulag state to ensure survival of what we like to call the mafia-like crime family cult, known as the Kim family regime. The regime uses subversion, coercion, extortion, or blackmail diplomacy, and ultimately will be prepared to use force to achieve unification on Kim's terms. And this is a 2-track approach: political warfare to subvert the South and manipulate the U.S. and the international community, and the development of advanced warfighting capabilities to be able to attack the South. And these 2 tracks guide all the actions from the North. The president-elect is correct in calling out Kim for his hostile policy toward the ROK and the U.S. No longer will Kim be able to get away with saying the U.S. and the ROK have a hostile policy. The ROK-U.S. alliance seeks security and stability, economic growth, and ultimately peaceful unification in Korea. Kim Jong-un seeks hostile domination. Third, it is necessary for the president-elect and the U.S. to take a human rights upfront approach with North Korea. Not only is this a moral imperative, it is a national security issue because Kim Jong-un must deny the human rights of the Korean people living in the North in order to remain in power. The president-elect must also be concerned with the rights of escapees and defectors in the South who are working hard to get information into the North to change the conditions. He must convince the National Assembly to repeal the so-called anti-leaflet law and allow escapees to continue their good work with the full support of the ROK government and the Korean people. Fourth, the president-elect must go beyond the work of the escapees and embark on a combined strategic influence campaign in the North. The ROK-U.S. alliance must bring all ROK and U.S. influence capabilities to bear on the North. It is important to understand that Kim Jong-un fears the Korean people in the North more than he fears the U.S. military. And in fact, his biggest fear is when the people have information and knowledge about life in the South and understand their unalienable rights and long to have the same rights as their brothers and sisters in the South. Now, most importantly, the essence of a superior political warfare strategy is to recognize the North strategy, understand it, expose it, and then attack that strategy with information. Now, fifth and finally, the president-elect must take a long-term approach to solve the, quote, Korea question, which comes from paragraph 60 of the armistice and recognizes the unnatural division of the peninsula. I believe the president-elect should change the focus of the Ministry of Unification from competition with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Intelligence Service to an organization that is singularly focused on the necessary deep and detailed planning for unification of Korea. The ministry must plan for unification through the four possible paths, from what we all hope for will be peaceful unification, through regime collapse, and of course, the worst case war, and to the possibility of emerging new leadership in the North who will seek unification on peaceful terms. The ministry must focus on every aspect of unification planning, from political, economic, health services, and security integration to culture and language diversions, to such basic rights as land ownership and freedom of movement. In conclusion, the president-elect must recognize that the only way to achieve denuclearization, the elimination of the existential threat from the North, and bring an end to human rights abuses and crimes against humanity is through unification. And the only acceptable, durable political arrangement that will serve the Korean people and ROK and U.S. interests is the establishment of a united Republic of Korea that is secure and stable, non-nuclear, economically vibrant, unified under a liberal constitutional form of government based on individual liberty, rule of law, free market economy, free market economics, and human rights as determined by the Korean people. In short, a united Republic of Korea, U.R.O.K. or U.ROK. Thank you.